Orwell talked about renaming everything. Because
people will find a way. They'll find a way to be mad.
Well, here's my controversial statement, okay?
Okay.
My controversial statement is, if you have to go this far to find things to be offended over, there's not that much to be offended over. If you have to go so far that you have to be offended by Trader Jose's, you got nothing going on in your life. There's a dramatic demand for being offended and acting like a victim. And there just ain't, like, there are actual victims in this country.
Yes.
And internationally, they're seriously actual victims.
Yes.
But we don't focus on any of those folks, right?
No.
We focus instead on, like, the dumbest bullcrap you ever heard. About renaming libraries. And listen, I'm fine with, you want to take a Confederate statue and put it in a museum? Fine. I mean, those guys were jerks. They're terrible people. Fine. Go for it. But, like, you're talking about, we're going to fix the world by renaming Washington, D.C. because Washington was bad. It's like, what did you do lately? Did you do what Washington did? Like, I understand, we don't put up statues to people for all the bad crap they did. Martin Luther King had a real bad record with the ladies. Okay, we don't put up statues to Martin Luther King because we were saying he was great with women.
I think everybody was bad with women back then.
Everyone is bad, period. Human beings suck. Okay, so either get rid of all the statues or recognize that human beings suck.
Worse, obviously.
For sure, and there are gradations of suck. But
do you remember back when they were tearing down those Civil War statues and Trump, in all of his wisdom, was like, what are they going to do next? What about Lincoln? What about they're going to take down George Washington? And everybody's like, oh, he's so crazy. Meanwhile, that's exactly what they were doing. That was what they were doing. In Chicago, well, that was actually Christopher Columbus, who was legitimately a bad guy.
He was. I mean, yes. Yeah. Also, everyone was bad. Like, literally, all the people were like enslavement, brutal treatment of people.
Right.
Fairly commonplace.
But do you think there's an argument to be said that maybe we shouldn't celebrate those bad people anymore? That we know now that we know what they really were.
Not really.
About?
I think we should just talk about the bad people. Like, I don't think we're the only good people in history.
Right.
I think
they should have a statue of Genghis Khan.
I don't know. What did Genghis Khan do that was good, that had good results?
Well, he opened up trade to China.
Okay, if you want to put up a trade to China statue for Genghis Khan at the Trade Federation.
10% of the population.
Yeah, true enough. And what? Impregnated the other 10% or something? It's something wild.
Everybody. He literally raped his way through Asia.
The point of a Christopher Columbus statue is not all the bad things he did to the Arawaks. The point of a Christopher Columbus statue is we are glad that Western civilization came to the Western Hemisphere. I kind of agree with that principle. I think it is a good thing that Western civilization came to the Western Hemisphere. And yes, there was a lot of brutality. And yes, there was a lot of cruelty. And we should talk about all those things. But this notion that the only cruelty that has ever existed in human history came at the behest of Western civilization, that everything was a Rousseauian paradise before Christopher Columbus came, that Christopher Columbus doesn't deserve a statue in specific, that we should, like, either make the argument that everybody was a product of their time and therefore no one deserves a statue, or recognize that when there's a statue of Christopher Columbus, we are not honoring how he treated the Arawaks. No one ever thought that we put up a statue to Christopher Columbus because he was really sweet to the natives on the other end of that. Right, that nobody.
So what is the purpose of a statue? Like, when you have a Christopher Columbus statue, like, what is the purpose of that statue? We all know who he is. We all know what he did. Why do we have an enormous bronze version of him in the middle of a park?
I mean, presumably to say that Western civilization arriving here was a good thing, right? Or to have the conversation. I mean, that's
it's a monument to an historical event, right?
Right. Or listen, Columbia University is named after Columbus, right? The idea of America as Columbia, right, which was an alternative name for America, was after Columbus because he was a discoverer.
Well, that's the weird one, right? We're named after Amerigo Vespucci, who nobody knows who the fuck that guy is.
Yeah, he's been lost in the time.
He's totally been lost.
But there is this idea that has settled in that and it's really of high irritation to me that we are now the only good people who have ever lived. Everyone who came before us was just a horrible person, and we are the only good humans who have ever, like, isn't the world lucky to have us? We're the only people who have ever lived who are completely sinless, and we can look from our perch at the top of morality at everyone who came before us and say that those people were all garbage compared to us. Now, there were people who were garbage compared to us, but I really don't think that Washington was among the people who you can say was garbage compared to you. Like, I don't think that you living in 1770 are a better person than George Washington. I think you stand atop the legacy that George Washington helped build.